The Empower Hour series was created for all of the women out there who have done everything they were supposed to do in life and are struggling to discover what's next. I see you. You know there's so much more out there, but you just don't know how to align with what's next for you. Well, you're not going to struggle anymore. It's time for you to create your new path and fall in love with your life over and over again. See that badass woman over there who has discovered what's next for her? Let's go ask her to share how she did it and become inspired. And if she can discover what's next, so can you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the EmpowHER Hour series. As you know, I am Suzanne Orlando, and I have an incredible guest today, Elizabeth Molina. Elizabeth is a beauty guru, and she's also been on the TEDx stage. I am so excited to have her here and also call her my friend. We met through Clubhouse and have connected both on Clubhouse, but more importantly offline, and have developed a really nice connection. And I'm so proud to have her here to share her story. And in this episode, Elizabeth is going to talk a little bit about how she started her career in one spot, and through her passion, her lifelong passion, she went into a different path, and now she's doing exactly what she was meant to do and what she loves. So Elizabeth, welcome so much to my show. I'm so excited to have you here. And what I usually ask people to start off with is just about take us back to where you started in your journey, and also maybe a little bit about the passion that you've always had for all things beauty.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. I just want to say thank you. That was a beautiful intro. And where to begin? How do I start after that? So thank you. Thank you so much for that. So for me, I would say I started off in pharma. That's way off. Way off.
Way off than what you're doing now.
Way off than what I'm doing now. I started off in pharma, and that was because I was a single mom, and I wanted to be a doctor. Like, I wanted to help the world. I wanted to travel. Actually, I wanted to be more precise, I wanted to be a plastic surgeon, so that I could help, children around the world who were born with like cleft lips, and like help people who were like in really bad accidents. And I wanted to help them live a normal life, because I understood that your appearance does matter, and it impacts the way people view you and the way that you feel about yourself. So I understood that, and I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. However, I was a single mom with a baby, and that was a dream that was not attainable for me at the moment. So I figured, what do I do next? I have this degree in biochemistry and psychology with 2 minors in classics and Jewish studies. And I took my MCATs and I passed, and I'm like, okay, but I can't like go to school and have a baby and like, pay for all the things. And even if I did get the scholarship, so what do I do next? I'm like, okay, I'll go to pharma, because like, that's the closest thing that I can do to like impact, like make good money, use my knowledge, my background that I have in biology and chemistry, and like change the world, like one prescription at a time. And so I guess my journey started there. But as you can tell, my passion for beauty was always there, and helping people to feel their best. And not necessarily the way you think of like Botox and fillers and changing your nose, but like really helping someone just look like what they were meant to look like. If God forbid they were in an accident or something, they were born with some sort of deformity, unfortunately. So I was doing very well in pharma, like literally, like I'm so proud of the way that I am such a great salesperson. And so one day, my company had sent out like literally like 4 men with me in my car, driving with me to my accounts. And they wanted to see, this is like marketing team and like research and development, like taking notes on like what I did, because what I did in 1 week is what it would take a normal rep to do in 1 year.
Which is amazing. And that was right in the beginning of your career as a pharmaceutical sales rep. That's incredible. So clearly a knack there, as you said, for sales.
Yes. So they followed me around, and they were going to like discover like how I did this, like how are they going to make their next manual for all the reps to follow my lead. And then they realized they couldn't do anything with what I did, because all I spoke about was beauty. So here I am, like in a surgeon's office, we're like talking about like fusing someone's back together with like, you know, these devices that we were selling at the moment or whatever it was that I was doing. I can't go into much detail about that, but
Right.
here I am. And like what they're talking to me about is not the patient's back, not how to fuse it correctly, not like how to make sure that they're going to be okay. It was about skincare, hair care. How can I do this for my wife? How can I fix this? Like, what are you eating? What's in your smoothie? How do you get so much energy? Talk to me. And they were like, this is not even, like, you don't even talk about the product. How are you selling so much? And so that's when I discovered that I was so happy at work. So I thought, because I was talking about what I really loved, which was beauty. And then I was also getting paid high commissions by the byproduct of selling a product, but people didn't really care about the product. They just wanted to interact with me.
Yes. Yes. How amazing. And I think that I love that point, right? So here you are in an industry where the main point of your job, right, is to sell the whatever's connected to the pharmaceutical industry that you're in to these surgeons, to these doctors. And yeah, it sounds like they purchased those things, but they purchased those things because of who you were and because of what else you were providing them and because of you listening and hearing and responding to their questions about that had nothing to do with
Right.
what you were selling, right?
Yeah.
And those relationships that you formed enabled you to make those connections, built that trust, and that kind of unfolded from there for you.
Yes. And so that's not to say that I wasn't well versed in the medicine, right? Like I
Yep.
really was. And so like
Yep.
I think that's what also gave me the edge. Like I knew my stuff. They knew that I knew my stuff. They tested me, they asked me questions. And then like they're like, we know you know what you're talking about, like, but we're not interested in the science because we know the science as well. Tell
Right.
us more about yourself. So yeah, so that's when I realized my passion was, and so my company said, hey, you're doing a great job, but you need to like talk more about the medicine and follow the script. And I started to feel like not comfortable. I was like, this feels icky to me. I don't love this. And I'm like, I do enjoy talking to people, giving them tips, making their life better. And so I realized this is no longer serving me because the money was serving me because it was a lot of money.
Sure.
Yeah, but the new conversations that I was supposed to be having was no longer serving me. And also I didn't align with the pharmaceutical companies anymore. And like what I originally thought like we were doing was helping, when I realized that's not kind of, yes, there's a place for it. But then what I saw was, one patient would come in with one thing and then in the next year they would have 5 more medications because they were prescribed X and now they have a side effect, they need to get this taken care of. And it goes, I'm not going to bash the industry because I think medicine is great, but
Of course.
it didn't align with me anymore. So that's when I transitioned into the beauty space. I just literally dove right into it.
Okay. Okay. And that was going to be my question, because here you are now, you're a single mom, you have financially, this is a very lucrative career that you're in.
Yes.
So that's really positive, but feeling like, and I loved how you use the word, they were guiding you of what you were supposed to do and the conversations you were supposed to have, and having that like gunky feeling of, I know I'm supposed to do this, but this is not where my heart is. And knowing that this wasn't all life was for you, that there was something else, there was that spark, there was that desire, there was that passion for the beauty in which you described in order to help people be the most beautiful versions of who they are. And so as a single mom with a very nice income connected to this field, what obstacles did you face within yourself to be able to make this transition? The passion is amazing. You had the passion there. You knew almost that this was not the space for you, but taking that leap and kind of getting off that fence to leave that industry to pursue your next move. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so I'll share something with you that I've actually never shared with anyone. And this is like kind of like what got me there. So, you know, all industries seem very big, but they're also really small because everybody knows who's doing well. Everybody knows each other at the end
Yep.
of the day. And so everyone knew about Elizabeth and how much she could sell. And so during the time where I was like starting to feel gunky and icky, like, oh, this is not really like, I'm not feeling this. I think people are starting to notice when I would go to conferences or I would do like shows that I wasn't so thrilled to be there anymore. And so other companies started approaching me with like, we need you to be our regional sales manager. We need you to be like, they were giving me like a bigger position with like triple the income, which
Wow.
I'm not going to, it's like well into the seven figures. And I was like,
Wow.
whoa, I'm not even 30 and this is happening. Right. Like, who wouldn't
Yeah.
want that? And
Yeah.
it was easy for me. Like I didn't have to work hard. It was work. It didn't feel like work actually. So, so one of the managers like that, I was like literally like on like a thin ice. I'm like about to get that job. Like I'm going to switch over to this company. He said to me, why are you so hesitant? We met 3 times. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, so you must be afraid to take a risk on yourself.
Oh.
And I was like, wait, what are you saying? He's like, you don't believe enough in yourself that you can't do this job. Cause I said, I'm a single mom and I need to be, if I'm going to be, you know, a regional manager, that means that I need to be traveling every 2 days and I need to be in charge of 60 people. And like, that's a lot. And I need to make sure that I want to be there for my daughter because that's why I didn't go to med school because I wanted to be there for her.
Yep.
So when he said that to me, I really sat with that and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, I believe in myself. And if I can make this much money for something that like not so passionate about, meaning the product, how much money can I make for myself if I'm passionate about it and no one's going to tell me how to do it but me? And so that was really the turning point.
So that was a key conversation that he was questioning your belief within yourself, which enabled you to kind of have that conversation that was so necessary. Without that interaction, who knows what would have happened?
Who knows, right?
I'm so grateful that you shared that here. That's inspiring because I think that's what so many, especially women, struggle with, right? That self-belief. I know that there's something more for me. I have this passion. I have this fire that's lit within me, but I'm taking that step. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? What if? And because I don't have that self-belief, I stay where I am and I question and I wonder and I beat myself up, or I just stay safe and I don't feel satisfied. So that was an incredibly pivotal moment in your career, in your life, Elizabeth.
It was. And then he felt like he doesn't even know, like, I feel like I should reach out to him because I remember this conversation like it was yesterday. And then his follow-up, it was in a Starbucks, in a Whole Foods. And it was like at like 7 a.m. in the morning before I like went into actual work to go to my accounts. And so he said to me, like, he left me with the thought and he said, and if you fail, like, what if you fail? Because he's like, that's what people are nervous about. Like, what if I succeed? What will happen? And what if you fail? But he's like, if you fail, he's like, you're not even 30. Like, you're not even there. And like, this is a job for people like who are in their late 40s and mid 50s.
Yeah.
So he's like, you could just go back to, you know, doing what you were doing as a regular rep. And I was like, yeah, but I wasn't thinking about his position. I was thinking about my position. I'm like, well, what if I fail? Like, I could always go back to that and like easily, you know, make that much money, like with the snap of my fingers.
Yep.
So that was like the moment.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I love that. And I absolutely reach out to him and just share that gratitude. You know, for sure. He probably has no idea that pivoted you, which is great. So you had this conversation, you were saying, you said, you know, I do believe in myself. I absolutely can do this. And then you transitioned into a different space. So but before you transitioned into that space, it sounds like you had to get a little more, you did go to school to be an esthetician, from what I understand.
Yes.
And then you became, you had to get certified, a holistic wellness certification.
Yes. Yeah. So I went to esthetician school. I also went to like lymphatic drainage school where I focused in post-op operation because I thought it was very important, meaning that I had the medical background. I also went to like a tattoo artist school.
Did you really?
Yeah, like I'm a tattoo artist and I know how to do like permanent makeup.
I
Um,
didn't know this. I'm learning. Oh my God. I love you have tons of tattoos, but that's so
I didn't
fascinating.
know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm a licensed tattoo artist in the state of New York, and I also like
Wow.
license in permanent makeup and what else? Health and holistic health and wellness coach, and also licensed in the state of New York. I feel like I have so many more things, but I just kind of dove right in because that's kind of my personality. Like you heard me before, I had two majors and two minors,
Yep.
finished in 3 years and a half with a baby, working full time, and like selling on Amazon. What
Right.
before it was a thing.
Before people did that, before people
Yeah,
sold on Amazon,
yeah,
you had that, almost like that intuition that this was
yes,
something.
yes.
Yeah. Which is so inspiring. So I hope everybody in the audience heard that. And if you didn't, you need to rewind this and listen to it again. So here's Elizabeth, who graduated college with these different majors in 3.5 years as a single mom with a young baby, went into pharmaceutical sales, was killing it, was offered like high corporate end positions, decided that that wasn't where her heart was, went a different route, got licensed in all things esthetician, beauty, tattoo art, like all these different things to be able to get to that next step. Still a single mom. So look at all these things that Elizabeth had on her plate and continues to have on her plate. Definitely inspirational, because if Elizabeth can find time and find space and find energy to be able to make these steps into a passion place, a passion path, you guys can absolutely do that too, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So from that, so you did that. Now talk to us about like the next transition. So you went and you learned all of the things, you got all of the certifications, the licenses. Where did that take you from there?
Yeah, so I decided like as I was learning, like as you learn, you're like pick up like what do you really like, what do you not like. So I started focusing on like mostly like lymphatic drainage before it was a thing. I actually was going through my Instagram and like seeing like so far back before it was like very famous to get lymphatic drainage massages. So I decided to open up a spa. So I had 3 spas
Wow.
that I opened up for like wellness. And it was for helping people who had like chronic diseases. And, I started like doing this like PEMF therapy along with lymphatic drainage, and people were getting amazing results. And then I started adding like, because I'm such overachiever, I was adding like, oh, while they're sitting there, why not add this service? Cause like I love to be pampered. And so like I want my clients to feel what I want. And like I'm kind of like obsessive when it comes to things. So
Yeah.
I'm like a major multitasker. And so like I will do like 10 things at once.
Uh-huh.
Same goes for my treatments. So I started incorporating red light therapy facials while my clients were on this machine and getting all their therapies. And these are people that were really sick. And so
Okay.
they stopped coming for their body treatments, because they love the facial part of it so much.
Wow.
And so like I had clients drive 2 hours for an 8-minute facial.
Wow.
And I was like,
Wow.
and I was so upset, by the way. I'm like, you're sick. You need this. Like, what's going on? Like, you need to get the treatment, not the facial. And they're like,
Right.
no, but when I go home, my wife says I look so good. Everybody just comments me. Like, they just say, like, I look so young. Like, what am I doing? And so, like,
Right.
I started again, my head was like, people are sick. They need this. And like, they're just worried about what they look like because people are commenting, you look amazing. What did you do? You look so refreshed. Like, what are you eating? And so like, I realized again, right? Like that moment, like, oh, your image it's people say it's not impactful, but it is, because
Yep.
people reflect that back on you. And then you feel good about that. You're like, yeah, I am eating healthier. I am having more water. And so it's like an affirmation to you. So,
Absolutely.
so then I started transitioning.
That's amazing. And that those affirmations, those are the I'd like to say like the small things we do every single day, the things that you teach people to do and encourage people to do when we start to be validated by the outside world. It encourages us to keep doing those healthy habits. It encourages us to keep going to those treatments because we want to feel good about what people are saying on the outside, which is great. But then that also feeds us internally, which I
Yes.
think is so fantastic, right? And that gives us that really healthy mindset, and we feel good about taking those steps to take care of ourselves. And I love that when you were, younger and entering school, and you wanted to go to medical school to be a plastic surgeon, because you wanted to do corrective surgeries to help people be the best versions of themselves. You're doing that. That's what it sounds like you stepped into on a different level, but it's the same thing. It's the same outcome. And what is it like for you when you have clients that are driving 2 hours for an 8-minute treatment and are seeing the value of the services that you provide them?
I almost cry like all the time. I'm like, you guys need to pay me because my tears are just so much. But then I tell myself, when you cry, it detoxes your kidney. So then I feel good about that. but no, so it really makes me feel, I don't know how to describe the feeling of being so fulfilled in the moment. Like I am so present, and I'm so like, I'm stuck to the ground, and I cannot run away from the feeling of the gratitude that I get from the person, and like the life that I've changed. Because in my opinion, when you make that kind of impact on someone, it's not just them, it's their family, it's their spouse, it's their children, it's their grandchildren, it's their coworkers that get to experience that. And so for me, I'm like, wow, like I touched one person, but the ripple effect just, I mean, it just makes me feel so happy. Like I feel no hunger, I feel no pain. Like I can't even describe the emotion.
Wow. And that there's no price tag for that. There is no
No.
price tag for that, right? And that in and of itself. So a lot of the women that I talk to and that come to my door when they're looking for that next thing, or they're trying to step into their passion, this is something that I think everybody needs to hear. And I haven't heard anyone describe it the way that you have, that, I might be doing a passion project. I might be doing a hobby. I might have some kind of a service that's going to help somebody, whether it's beauty or fitness or mindset or whatever it could be. You're not just helping that one person. I love how you put that, the ripple effect of it. You don't know the impact that it's truly going to make, not just on that person, but on the person with whom, people with whom they're connected in their community. It's going to go far. And I think that that's something that we get stuck on. We get stuck on, I'm just helping one person, or am I even helping one person? Or if I do this, like, who's going to hear this, or who's going to be impacted by this? And I guess going to your point, you truly don't know, but most likely it's going to be a ripple effect.
Yes. I actually, I think I do know, and I know it sounds pretty grim, but I worked in my life in pharmaceutical sales. I went from derms, starting at derms and plastics, obviously. Then I
Yep.
moved to oncology. Then I moved to pain management and addiction. And so in addiction, that was like one of my last roles.
Yep.
And it really opened my eyes to see, when I started doing a lot of training and working with different families and just organizations, and understanding that, and even myself having gone through losses, like I've lost two brothers. And so I realized, like, wow, one person who passes, unfortunately, it's not just that one person who suffers. It's a ripple. It could be
Yep.
20 people. And so that's where I kind of got that idea from, because I experienced it. I actually learned it. I saw it, and I'm like, wow. And so if it could be for a loss, it could be the same for a gain.
Right. Right. That's right. And I think, again, focusing our attention on that, the loss piece of it, but reshifting our attention on, well,
Yes.
right, who's going to gain from this? My clients are going to gain from this. I know that when I see my clients take those pivots and take those steps or feel good about themselves, it feeds me too. I feel good for them for feeling good, and so on and so on and so on. We don't know who it's going to impact, but it's going to impact so many people, not
Yes.
just the one that we're serving, which is so beautiful. I love that. I love that. Can you talk also about, I know we referenced in the beginning that not only are you a beauty guru, but you've been on the TEDx stage. And I know that I've heard you speak. I've heard your amazing war paint, the TEDx that you did, which I thought was incredible. But can you just talk briefly about how you pivoted to that space? Because I think, we all know what TEDx is. We probably all know or have seen TEDx. Maybe some of us have connected with speakers of TEDx. I just think it's a phenomenal it's a phenomenal step in anybody's career, in my opinion. Can you share with us how you pivoted into that space?
Yes. So I actually had a girl, I knew that I always wanted to give some sort of TED. I just thought it would be like kind of superficial. I didn't think it would be
Okay.
the story that I gave. I thought it would be like some sort of beauty anthem or talking about like how even like in college, like I did my papers on beauty and like where does it originate from? Like where does it come from? Like I was just so fascinated by it like all my life. Like I
Mhm.
was why was like my favorite word and my teachers hated me for that. I'm like, why this and why? Like I just never stopped. They're like, Elizabeth, enough. Like put your hand. I was so curious and I still am. So I just thought it would be something like that. Like I was going to like discover something new and it was going to be like this, like Tesla move aside, like Elizabeth is here. And so, but then I realized as a friend of mine, she invited me to do a master class with her at TED, something like speakers and TED, or I don't remember some kind of speaker academy. And
Okay.
she's like, I know that you would do it with me. Like no one else would do it with me. And like, you're into like everything and like, you're into learning. So like, you're just down for everything. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Like, let's go, let's do it. So I
Yeah.
took the course and I started talking about permanent makeup. And I like, my first idea was like, I was going to talk about the image and like how when I have on my makeup and I'm all glammed up, people treat me differently. And then when I don't have that and have my hair in a bun and sweats, people ask me if I speak English and when did I come to this country? And that was my, I'm gonna talk about this, the image and how people
Yep.
perceive people. And then I was writing this talk and it didn't seem like whatever. So during the break, the instructor came to me and I kind of told her my real story. And she said, that's the one. And like, she's like, if you were going to tell the story, she's like, yes, it would be great. It's perfect timing because of everything that's happening in the world. But if you were to die and you would want to leave a message, what would that message be? And I
Wow.
just sat there and I'm like, no, not again, universe.
The universe never lies, right? It always gives us the messages we need to hear.
Yes. Yeah. So I sat there and I'm like, oh, I never shared this. Like not many people knew about it. Not even my family, like not the details, like just don't ask. She's a strong person. Like she just
Yep.
keeps on going. And so I'm like, okay, fine. So I got up there. Like first of all, I couldn't even speak. I was shaking because it's the first time, like my girlfriend knew the story, obviously. And she
Yep.
actually said to me, I knew that you were going to do that. I was rooting for you. I'm like, what? So you like sneak
So
attack.
even before you knew, she kind of had that
She
intuition.
always wanted me, by the way. She's like, I want you to do a talk. Like there needs to be a movie. Like people need to hear your story. And I'm like, no, no, no. Like nobody cares about this. It's not important. And so I went on there and like, these were like strong women that I was intimidated by because like people saw me. I came in there like the beauty person and everybody was like in a suit and I'm like, hey, what's up? And so like there was a stereotype already, like, oh, she's just like an airhead, unfortunately.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
so I'm like, here I am standing here with permanent makeup and talking about it. And so now I'm gonna change the narrative and I'm standing here like sweating, like I'm not a
Oh,
sweater,
right.
drenched.
Oh,
I was
wow.
just drenched. And I stood up there and I said my talk and they were all crying and clapping and they all came forward with their own stories. And like, even though my talk wasn't impressive at the moment, and they just said to me, like, you need to tell the story. And I didn't feel like it was a lie. I didn't feel like they were just trying to make me feel great
Right.
because they were just like, and then because I spoke my truth, they were able to share something that they had experienced. Maybe not the
Right.
same, but it gave them the courage. And I was like, wow, I realized it's so powerful when I share my scars. You
Yep.
feel safe enough to share your scars.
Yeah.
So that was the moment that I decided I have a message and I want people to hear it. And I also want to spread the message that we can change and that we can go through things, but that doesn't define us. And so
Right.
that's what I wanted people to know, that I went through all of this and I'm standing here today looking great, feeling great. Yes, I have horrible days sometimes, but it doesn't take away from who I am.
Right. That's right. That's right. And I want us to drop the link here too to that so people can check that out because that I think but that kind of also circles back to what you were saying about not knowing and having that ripple effect, right? So because you even if the universe made you do it, right? The universe was like knocking on your door, looking in your window. It's like, I'm keep sending you this message. You have to listen to me. And you did listen to the universe, as terrified as you were, as out of place as you felt when you stepped into that space, right? And you saw all these other people and you were comparing yourself, and they're looking at me like I'm an airhead. They're looking at me like I don't know what I'm talking about. And you opened your mouth and you shared your truth. And what did you receive from that? People felt safe. They felt safe enough to share, wow, this is what I've experienced too. So you set the stage for other people to feel like they are not the only ones and they're not alone. And how brave for you to step into that, even if you felt like you had no other choice because the universe was, knocking at your door. You still created that so for so many other people to be able to come forward now and listen to that over and over and over again. And I'm sure there are so many people out there who have connected with that, who have felt more powerful and more courageous because of that choice to tell that story of yours.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, the universe made me do it. I think I'm going to trademark that thing.
Yes, you should trademark the universe made me do it, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's just inspiring, because whether it's the TED stage or whether it's a new path or something that that keeps calling us, or we keep getting validated on with like the universe or whatever it is that people do connect with and believe in, there's a reason why those things keep coming back to us. And not listening to it's just going to get louder and stronger. And
Yeah.
even doing it afraid, stepping into that path. You're somebody who, okay, you're, even your friend who brought you along for the ride, they were like, I know that you got like questions, you like learning, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to figure it out later. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to figure it out later. And I think taking those leaps of faith, even if you feel nervous or scared or unsure, there's something that keeps bringing you back there. There's something that keeps that spark that we should not ignore.
Yeah.
That we definitely have to feed that spark, because we never know what's on the other side of it. And look at all of the times in your life that you did just that.
Yes, that is so true. That's a great message.
Uh-huh. For sure. So right now I know you're doing the Clubhouse thing. You're doing a lot of, you're connecting a lot on Clubhouse. Tell us the best way, how can people get in touch with you? What are some current things that you're doing right now that might be of interest to our audience, so that people can connect with you? We're going to drop all the links below, but just to verbalize it too.
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is like my go-to, but I feel like Clubhouse has kind of been like overpowering that. I've been kind of neglecting my Instagram, which is not great, but Instagram is the best way to reach me. If you want to hear me speak, probably Clubhouse. And then my website, elizabethmolinainc.com, you can get the latest. And what's coming up for me, I guess, that I would want to share is my beauty courses that I've been working on.
Yes.
And there's a lot of them coming out. So stay tuned for that.
That's awesome. And I have to say it again, and I know I've touched on this throughout our interview together, that I love that, when I hear, as a person not in the beauty industry, when I hear beauty guru, my initial assumption is makeup, hair, all of the things to make us look gorgeous. But I think that is something here. But I think the way in which you approach beauty, Elizabeth, is so deep, much deeper, and so much more personal, because you're pulling out of people the specific details about themselves that need to shine. And it sounds like people who feel like they might fall back into the crowd, or people who don't necessarily feel that they might be able to feel beautiful. You bring that out in people. You help people realize that, and I think that that's such a different, it's a different take on the beauty industry as a whole. I think, the way in which you approach it. And I certainly have, from getting to know you and who you are, I certainly have learned a lot about that piece of things, because again, when I hear beauty or beauty industry or things like that, I have an assumption, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's, I think most people might. And I think that you bring it to such a deeper level, which is so important. It's just so important.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And you're so right, because And that's kind of probably what I struggle with the most when people think of beauty, or when people see me sometimes if I'm in full glam, they
Yeah.
automatically assume something. And
Yes.
it's like that, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that has been like my life story. Like I would have tattooed that on myself if I could find a beautiful artwork.
You
But I
can, and you physically can, because you're
yeah,
licensed to do
I
that.
totally can. So yeah, it's a very interesting take, because when people think of beauty, they really do think of this mask that you put on. And what I want to do is tell you that you can have those masks, but you're also beautiful under that mask. And that is why that is my journey and my why for beauty. Like I want to get back to that little person inside of you, like that child before it was like molded by society and told what not to do, what to do. Because you always see those kids in those commercials where they like, those little girls, I know you've seen it before, where they like have their swimsuits on and they have like their little belly coming out and they're like showing each other, and they're not thinking about like, I don't have a six pack or my waist isn't so tiny. They're just enjoying the sprinklers, they're having fun walking on the grass. Like that is the kind of beauty I'm talking about, where you don't care about those things. You
Yep.
just feel in the moment, enjoy nature, enjoy the sun, the colors. Like that is beauty.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And I have one of those at home.
You do?
I have a 9-year. Well, she's transitioning into a different space right now. As she's 9 years old, and she's becoming aware of more things. But yeah, the innocence
It is.
factor of us, that childhood innocence where we did not care. It was about having fun and being really who we were. And I love that. That's your message. I want to get people back to that space to embrace who they are.
Right. That
It's
is.
beautiful. It's
Thank you.
absolutely beautiful.
Thank
Well,
you.
I am so grateful that for your time and space and energy, to come here and share your story with the viewers on Empower Hour, and so grateful that you were able to take time to do that. And that I appreciate you, in this space and in life in general. And I'm so grateful to have you.
Well, thank you. Feelings are mutual, by the way, and I talk to you every day.
I know.
Yes,
And that's the magic of Clubhouse, as our friend Caroline says
it
too,
is.
to be
Yes.
able to make connections. Yeah. So if you're not on Clubhouse, definitely consider getting on Clubhouse for sure. So we're going to go ahead and drop Elizabeth's links. They're going to be below. And just to close this out, you guys, as I always say here on this series, that just because you've done everything you're supposed to do in your life does not mean that you've done everything that you're meant to do in your life. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to tune back for the next episode. Thank you, everybody.